even fit in here? Hey everyone, what is going on? It is Brian. Welcome back. And we have a really fun video for today. As always, being here in Louisville, I try, if able, to bring some of the new releases to you all as quickly as possible. And today we do have a fun one. I was able to pick up the Heaven Hill 17 year. That is the newest and first product in the Heritage Collection line. This is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. So the same profile that you'll see Evan Williams, Elijah Craig, but it's 17 years old, barrel proof, 118.2 proof, and it is batched. And so this has 28% 20-year-old, it has 44% 19-year-old, and then 28% 17-year-old, which is what it is age stated. We are gonna dive into this product and then maybe make some comparisons to other products out here. I picked this up at an event at Heaven Hill yesterday. First had a chance to try it. And honestly, at the time of first trying it, the first thing that popped in my mind was there's some things about this that kind of remind me of Russell's 13. So I figured I'd go ahead and pour it out here. Towards the end of the video, we'll compare a little bit to it. But let's go ahead and talk about what the Heaven Hill 17 year is. Over time, I've really come into enjoying Heaven Hill expressions, specifically their older ones. And so some of the flavors you run into are similar to what you've run into in ages past. You get the leather, you get the oak, you get this dark cherry note. You get a soft, like welcomed amount of spice. You get a hefty amount of caramel. I feel like the more it opens in the glass, the more it fills. You get more of the caramel sweetness. It kind of erupts with these kind of chocolate, maybe peanut buttery, oaky notes. And the fruit as well. It all sorts of it all continues to grow and expand. Go ahead and dive into the palate here. If you're familiar with the older Elijah Craig expressions, if you're familiar with the Evan Williams 23 expressions, if you're aware of Heaven Hill 27, you know that sometimes Heaven Hill can get super oaky, super tannic. Doesn't seem to do that. It teeters on this line. After you sip, you get more tobacco and leather and oak notes kind of pull into the nose. But on the palate initially, it has a nice mixture of tobacco, black pepper, spice, oak leather, all at the front of the palate. It kind of reminds me of a Evan Williams 23, a little bit in that regard, but a little bit fuller, a little bit more ramped up. As it continues on the palate, creamy, caramely, this vanilla caramel play with a saturated, soaked, stewed fruit like purple, red fruit, more dark fruits than it is purple fruits, kind of like your plums, your dates, your unprocessed grape notes. It moves into this spiced yet molassesy, lingering soak on the palate that's just really, really inviting. Let's go ahead and compare to a couple of things real quick. First of which, I want to compare to what I talked about earlier this week, which is the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A122. Why am I bringing this up? Well, it's also batched. It's 12 years old, so only 5 years difference, and the proof's relatively similar. We're talking about 120.8 proof to 118.2 proof. The nose comes off kind of similar, where the Heritage Collection does have a little bit more of the oak, the musty notes. I think that Heaven Hill hits its sweet spot kind of in this 12-year range. So while it does have these kind of cookie notes, these kind of sweet caramel notes, and kind of a pop of spice brightness similar to the Heritage Collection, it doesn't quite have the depth of like tobacco and an oak and leather that it has. So it's got the sweet aspect and maybe a little bit of brightness, but that's about where it stops. It doesn't show its age in the same way. Let's go ahead and go on the palate. And it really comes down to the camps of what you like in flavor. Where my video, earlier this week talked about its kind of oak forwardness, but it still has some of the caramel cookie kind of sweet notes to it, and then like kind of a trailing spice, little bit of juiciness. Coming after the Heritage Collection, it's almost like popcorn. It's almost like liquid caramel. It's overly sweet. You definitely notice that this Elijah Craig Barrel Proof has sweet tones. It's missing the saturation of fruits. It's missing some of the nuance and complexity. It's missing like a little bit of depth of maybe some chocolate, some interesting flavors that come out with the age, the tobacco, the leather, the layers that the Heritage Collection sort of bring out, which is the kind of thing that made me think initially, well, what about Russell's 13? Doesn't Russell's 13 have some of these similar plays, a little bit bright, maybe has some spice, dark fruit, and some of the oak characteristics and chocolate? Let's go ahead and see if we can't tease out some of those similarities here. I mean, the nose is completely different. This nose of Russell's 13 comparatively, where you get kind of the oak and leather on the Heritage Collection, the Russell's 13 is slightly fruity butterscotch. I mean, it is very viscous smelling, like it smells like it's going to be rich and saturated, but comes with a lot more butterscotch and maybe some decadence and vanilla notes. Palate-wise, are there similar flavors? Yeah, I would say the pocket of flavor is similar, from those unrefined fruit notes to just some sugary caramel, to some of the barrel char, some chocolate, a little bit of that leather note. But the Heritage Collection is very wide. There's a lot of flavor. The finish is big. It lingers for a long time. The Russell's 13 comparatively seems very narrow. It seems like it's a very focused amount of flavor. The saturation is smaller. The window of what it presents is not as expansive. It presents similar flavors. There's still saturation and fullness to them, but it doesn't expand to all the sides of the mouth. It kind of stays pretty narrow. It doesn't really dance on the sides of the palate. It doesn't really linger with as much sweetness as the Heaven Hill lingers. It's kind of dry, but in a positive way. Spiced in a positive way. That tobacco, that leather, some of the oak, they're there. It just seems a little bit more tamed down. So while it does have some similar flavor pockets, I do think that this Heritage Collection stands on its own. Going back to the Heritage Collection after the two, honestly, there's that kind of, I usually mention this when it comes to Dusties. There's like a potpourri, like a fragrance. There's a thing about it. There's a bouquet to it that just is very aromatic. That's it. That's the word. It's aromatic, intense. It's wider in the mouth. There's a lot more complexity to this Heritage Collection. It's going to be difficult for me to tell you, is it worth $200 more than either of these other two pours MSRP wise? Well, again, the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, as you saw from my last video, if you haven't, go back and watch it, is no slouch. It's very good, but comparatively, even though it has oak, it's more sweet forward. If you want an expansive pour that has a lot of layers, nuance, then it's not going to give that to you the same way that this Heritage Collection will. The Russell's 13, I'm one who really enjoys the Russell's 13, and I know some people don't really enjoy it. Compared to the Heritage Collection, honestly, I see why some people don't think that Russell's 13 is all that cracked up to be. The Heritage Collection kind of puts it in its place. For a one-time release, one-time-a-year release, I would say this lives up to it. If you were one who likes the Russell's 13, if you're one who has tried or enjoyed the Heaven Hill 27 year, maybe you thought you liked the Heaven Hill 27 year, it had good sweetness to it, but maybe just teetered on the line of too tannic, this one doesn't do that. This one has a lot of richness, saturation, but doesn't get over oaked. If you're one who likes the Evan Williams 23, but the price tag was really hard to swallow, inaccessible. Now, not that this one's any more accessible, but you ran into some of those things. Plus, it again was just a little too tannic, a little too much wood. This one's going to give you something that strikes a good balance. It gives a good, mature Heaven Hill flavor profile without going over the edge, and honestly, does give you something a little bit more than some of the other Heaven Hill products have given you before. All right, guys, that was my quick little summary of the first taste of the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection. I hope that was interesting or informational to you all. Let me know as these things are releasing in different markets. Let me know down below if you get a chance to try it. This is definitely something I recommend at least trying it at a bar. If it's available in your area, I think it's something that you might enjoy. Collector's kind of thing. Again, I'm not necessarily a proponent, an advocate to say, hey, just grab it and put it on your shelf. I think it's a really good tasting bottle. And that's going to be something that you have to decide whether it's something you want to afford or not. But definitely something I recommend trying at a bar if not able to pick one up. If you're a Heaven Hill fan, if you like well-aged whiskey, you're going to feel at home here. I will also make a quick nod. This does not actually remind me of a lot of Willet products. That was one thing I thought about bringing out here. I didn't think it had a lot of accessibility. Truthfully, it doesn't. But it honestly has its own profile. It does taste more Heaven Hill driven than it does kind of any other Willet product that I can think of bringing here out tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you all like this content, consider subscribing to the channel. Jump down below, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let me know if you're enjoying the content that you're hearing here. If you've tried this pour, leave me some comments down below and let me know what you thought. If you've tried the 85th, if you tried the Heaven Hill 27, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of those. Thanks so much for tuning in. Join us at Entry Proof Live. We're Tuesdays on the Drew P. Whiskey channel doing barrel picks, maybe have some guests on, or doing blind flights, all sorts of stuff. We have a lot of fun over there. Thursdays, Drew P. Whiskey channel. Jump down below, gives you a link to that. We'll see you guys next Thursday. If you want to support the channel, what I'm doing here, what Drew's doing, follow the link. Go to patreon.com/entryproofpodcast. Some other behind the scenes stuff for you all there too. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you all later.